What's up, everybody? Bootman here. There's been a hot topic floating around in the Marvel Rivals community, and it's about the current rank system and the matchmaking. People have had a lot of complaints. They say something feels off. People are talking about rank inflation, and I wanted to discuss that today because I find it really interesting. What I've been curious about too is how it compares to other games, right? Games like Valorant or even League of Legends. Overwatch, I wasn't really able to find data, but I was able to find data for the others. So I wanted to compare them. I wanted to talk about this topic because it's been like blowing up lately. There's this tweet right here that showed the rank distribution from one of the Marvel Rivals stats websites, which is really interesting too, because this tweet blew up and I've made multiple videos talking about stats and data from this website, and everybody's like, well, stats don't actually matter. But apparently when it confirms your prior beliefs, then it's something to talk about. But anyways, I digress. So the goal of this video is to discuss Marvel Rivals rank distribution, the rank system, and kind of explore why players are so concerned about potential inflation in this game. So like I said, one of the first things I was curious about is how does Marvel Rivals ranked compare to these other games? So I was able to find data for League of Legends and Valorant, and what you're seeing right here on the screen is a table that I worked up. Now, one of the issues is that you'll see there's not an exact one-to-one comparison with the ranks, just because, like League of Legends seems to have less ranks than like Marvel Rivals, everything like that. So I did my best to kind of line these up. So one of the things that's really apparent is with the Marvel Rivals ranked is that there is 31% of players sitting in bronze. And a lot of these games, you'll see like a bell curve, right? So you'll see on the very far end of the lower ranks, it's very low. On the very top end, on the right side, you'll see that's also very low. And most players are sitting right around the middle. But Marvel Rivals is kind of an outlier because so many players are sitting in the top. And sitting on bottom with a very high percentage of players over in bronze. And one of the reasons this might be, we don't know for sure, like we would need to discuss this with like Marvel Rivals devs, is that we don't know if it's just automatically tossing everybody into bronze rank, just like even if they haven't even played a single ranked game, or it's tossing everybody in there who's only played like one game of ranked. So it's really interesting because there's such a high distribution of players on that top end. But as you start going down, this is what I found really interesting is the distribution isn't that weird, right? So if we look at Marvel Rivals, if we start going into silver, we have 12% of people in silver, but in Valorant, you have 23%, and in League of Legends, you have 19%. So Marvel Rivals actually has a lower percent of players there, which could be an issue because it means more players are going to be in the higher ranks. Around gold, we kind of see the same thing. At platinum, in all three games, we kind of see them starting to balance out a little bit. Marvel Rivals, we have 13.5%, Valorant, we have 14%, and League of Legends, we have 11%. Then, when you go to Diamond, that's when things really start to get wonky again. Marvel Rivals has a massive amount of people at 12.8% of people in Diamond, but in Valorant, it drops down to 9%, and then in League of Legends, it drops down to 2%. But remember, League of Legends does have fewer ranks, so that might be part of this reason. So one of the things a lot of people have been complaining about is how many people are in Grandmaster. Flats actually made a really good video on this topic about the rank distribution and potential issues, and I'll discuss that a little bit more in a second. But something he was talking about is when he was looking at this, he's like, oh, so this is why I have so many people in my comment section saying, I know what I'm talking about, you don't, I'm a Grandmaster, right? Well, if you look at the distribution, we have 10.84% of players sitting in Grandmaster. That is a very large percentage because when you start looking at the Valorant ranks or even the League of Legends ranks, right after you get to platinum, it starts to drop off. Not as many people are getting there, but we have a whopping 10.8% of players sitting in Grandmaster in Marvel Rivals. Now, when we move up to Celestial, Eternity, and One Above All, that's when it starts to kind of look more like a normal rank distribution. We have 4.3% of players in Celestial, and then in Valorant, a kind of equivalent is Ascendant, where you have about 5% of players. So that's kind of normal. Then Eternity, less than 1%. In Valorant, their Immortal tier, that's at 1%. And then Grandmaster in League of Legends is at less than 1%. It's at less than 0.1%, right? And then One Above All. So the top rank, the very top rank in Marvel Rivals is only 0.2%. It's even less in Valorant at 0.03%. And then it's the same thing in League of Legends. So that's where we kind of see this. So a lot of the inflation seems to be around Diamond and Grandmaster. And while we don't have exact data on how the rankings work within Marvel Rivals, like we have a good idea, right? With the amount of points that you get for wins and losses. In the lower ranks, you have like the Chrono Shields, but also there were the conversations around ranked resets. So right now, Marvel Rivals does ranked resets at the start of each season, and they're kind of playing around with how many tiers you're gonna drop, but they did announce before the mid-season that they were going to do like a kind of soft rank reset and drop people just a little bit. And the Marvel Rivals community lost their freaking minds. They're like, no, we can't do that. And Marvel Rivals turned around and they reversed that decision. But that's also very interesting because now we see so many people complaining about the rank distribution. So I want everybody to sit back and ask themselves, should they have done some sort of ranked reset? But we don't know if that would have fully solved the problem. So this is something that Flash actually talks about in his video as he's going over this. And something interesting that he brought up is that some of these other games have placement matches. So what that means is when you first log in and you're gonna go do ranked, you play like 5 matches and the game is trying to figure out where to start you. Marvel Rivals doesn't have this. And this can be kind of an issue because there are so many people who make, I don't even like using the word like Smurf accounts. It's more of like an alternate account. Like I can't imagine being one of the top players and then having to wait for like 30-minute queues, or with the way it's set up, like you can't play with your friends. So I understand why people make these alt accounts, but the issue is they get to just start at bronze and just plow through everybody there and then work their way up. And I'm sure that's skewing things a little bit as well. But with a placement match system, you would play your matches, 5 matches or whatever it is, and then if you perform really well, the game knows like, hey, you are not supposed to be starting out in bronze or silver or gold. We're gonna shoot you up, to platinum or diamond or whatever it is because you're performing so well. So that might be something that could help in Marvel Rivals. So maybe that's something that they're thinking about doing in the future. But yeah, I do highly recommend that you go check out Flat's video on this. He comes from, Overwatch, very good at that game. Now he's highly skilled at Marvel Rivals. So he does have some valuable insights. But me, I'm a big psychology nerd, and something that I've been asking myself is just like, why do people care? Why is this an issue, right? Like, obviously, like, we have a feeling that something's off, but I'm trying to understand like why. Why do people care if there are a large amount of people in, certain ranks like Grandmaster? So one of the reasons that I was thinking about is that it kind of dilutes the meaning of the high ranks, right? So if there's a large percentage of players that are in Grandmaster, that rank doesn't feel like as prestigious or indicative of like a truly exceptional player, right? One of the other issues that I think is frustrating a lot of people is the inconsistent matchmaking. So this is really interesting to me as well, because about a month ago or so, there was all these rumors and conspiracy theories going around about the rigged matchmaking system and people discovering for the first time in their lives what MMR is. I did a whole video about that when that topic was blowing up, but now people are talking about how atrocious the matchmaking is. And I could do a whole video on this, because what people are talking about is like, oh my God, I'm playing Grandmaster and this person went like 2-7 as a DPS and all this other stuff. And like, I don't think that's a fair way to kind of like, interpret somebody's skill. People have bad games, people have bad days, right? I was just watching the Invitational tournament over the weekend, and even Team Sentinels in their very first match against 100 Thieves, their very first map against them, pretty much everybody on Team Sentinels like had very, very poor performances. All of them had very low kills. Like it was just a bad match for them. And I don't think anybody would say if one of them was in your ranked match and they performed poorly, you would say, oh my God, why is this person even in my rank? No, they might've just had a bad game, or you just played against, a team that was just highly skilled. So that is something to take into consideration. One of the other reasons I think people care about this topic is a false sense of skill. And that means basically there are people who are not that good at this game, but because of their rank, they feel as though they're better. Like Flash discusses in his video, when people hit these certain ranks, now all of a sudden they believe they have the authority to speak on certain topics, right? They're like, I know everything there is to know, I'm in Grandmaster, but if they're not taking into consideration that this rank is inflated, now they have this kind of false sense of skill, and I'm sure it's driving skilled players nuts. But this is something that you'll see all the time in YouTube videos as well. Like, when I made that video debunking the nonsense around the conspiracy theories with matchmaking, like the main guy whose video blew up about that, he made a follow-up video, and all he kept saying throughout the entire video about matchmaking is like, I'm Grandmaster, I'm a Grandmaster player. Look at how bad these other people are, I'm Grandmaster, right? And like, we have to understand that, your rank doesn't always indicate what your skill level actually is. And like, a lot of people need to chill out with the trash talking, because so many people in this game and many other games think that their crap just doesn't stink. They are just the best players. Any loss is never their fault. It's the entirety of the rest of the team. Other people weren't doing their job. Meanwhile, you're just a god among men, right? One of the other issues with this is that there's a lack of clear progression. If climbing feels too easy, then that sense of accomplishment and reaching those higher tiers, it greatly diminishes, right? Then lastly, there is that frustration with alt accounts that we discussed. Like I do love ranked, I do love playing competitively. I like when there is just like a meaning behind the game. I like when it's a little bit more structured and organized, and just playing against more skilled players. But I cannot tell you like how frustrating it is, you probably already know this, is when I'm just playing with my buddies and like, we're not the best players in the world. Like, dude, I'm like pushing 40. I've been gaming for a very, very long time. And when I'm playing against people who I'm just like, you should be, in like one above all, you are so good, like that can be very frustrating. So I do hope that they create some kind of solution to this issue in the future. So what can Marvel Rivals do to fix this system? I would love to hear from all of you in the comments below, but just a couple things that we've touched on already. They should probably implement some kind of placement system to get people to the proper ranks a little bit faster. There is the Chrono Shields, but I don't really see that as an issue because I believe the Chrono Shields stop at gold rank, and that's not where we're seeing the problem. The Chrono Shields, for those of you who don't know, after you lose a certain amount of matches in these lower ranks, you get this kind of like free loss where you don't lose any points for losing a game. So I don't really think the Chrono Shields are the problem. But something that they really need to assess is just how many points you're gaining for wins and for losses. And I'm not well-versed enough in this to understand like how it should be, because a lot of people are talking about how you can have a less than 58 or less than 50% win rate and still climb up the ranks. And this is something that's a little bit more complex than just that, right? Because if you think about it, when the game does ranked resets, you're not resetting back to zero, right? So somebody who might have started off a new season at a higher rank and started losing, it'll show that they have, a less than 50% win rate while they're still at that high rank. But part of that is because their rank from the previous season is carrying over. So we're not really getting a clear picture on that. But yes, I do 1000% agree that there is no way you should be sitting at like a 50% win rate, especially less than a 50% win rate, and still be able to rank up. So something with those numbers should get tweaked a little bit, so you're only progressing if you are skilled and getting a decent amount of wins. But anyways, this has just been a topic that's on my mind. I've seen so many people talking about it on Twitter, and it's something just that I've been thinking about as well, because I do think it's important for people to not look for like, excuses and all these other things when they're losing. And I think that is an issue. But when there's a topic like this, where there are some like clear problems. Like, that's why I wanted to compare it to other games. Before I actually did this video too, I started searching on YouTube, like Valorant ranked matchmaking problem, Overwatch 2 ranked matchmaking problem. And believe it or not, people complain about matchmaking in literally every game. But I decided to make this video because there are some things with Marvel Rivals that sets it apart from these other games that do appear to be an issue. And the devs do seem very receptive to feedback, so I want to start a conversation on this. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, okay? But anyways, that's all I got for this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. I got a ton of Marvel Rivals content coming for you, all right? But anyways, aside from that, have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.